Ukraine just launched a powerful new predator into its skies. It's not a fancy fighter jet, bomber, or attack helicopter, nor is it equipped with high-powered missiles or machine guns. Yet, it's still one of the most valuable and innovative additions to Ukraine's military arsenal, capable of saving countless lives and counteracting Russia's destructive drone swarms. It's called the Shark. And here's an in-depth look at what it is, how it works, and why it's set to play a game-changing role in the war in Ukraine. The Shark is a lightweight, single-engine, two-seater aircraft developed by the Czech-Slovak firm Shark.Aero. This company was founded in 2006 and has therefore been working on these aircraft for around 2 decades. It doesn't make any other products, so the Shark.Aero team is able to dedicate all of its time, energy and expertise to perfecting the Shark aircraft. The result of their hard work is one of the most technically impressive microlight planes in the world today, measuring 22 feet in length, with a height just over 8 feet and a wingspan of almost 26 feet and weighing just over 600 pounds when empty. It can carry over 26 gallons of fuel and is powered by a Rotax 912 ULS 4-stroke engine, helping the craft to top speeds of 190 miles per hour or 300 kilometers per hour and giving it a range of up to 1,550 miles or 2,500 kilometers. Dozens of Sharks have been sold to pilots in 26 countries around the world, and they've been used to set several Guinness World Records. In 2022, for example, British-Belgian pilot Zara Rutherford flew a Shark around the world, becoming the youngest woman to complete a solo circumnavigation and the first woman to do so in a microlight aircraft. In short, the Shark is a reliable and proven aircraft, but it was never designed for warfare or deployed in a real-world combat situation. Until now. This year, the Shark.Aero team decided to try something a little different. They put their talents to the test, creating a new, modified version of their famous Shark aircraft that could help Ukraine defend its people, cities and skies. That war-ready Shark was shown off at the recent Paris Air Show 2025 event, held from June 16 to June 22. French-Canadian aviation expert and former fighter jet pilot Ate Chouet was in attendance at the air show and met up with a representative from Shark.Aero to learn more about the company's latest creation. The representative explained how this Shark differs from those that have come before.
We decided to develop and build a Shark specifically for use in electronic warfare operations in Ukraine. We simply equipped it with an antenna to detect and identify drone threats in the region. Yes, we can detect the electromagnetic profiles of different drones like Sharks, Orlans, whatever they may be. And once we've detected these drones, we can neutralize them thanks to jammers we've installed underneath the aircraft.
Now, that's a serious upgrade. All other Shark aircraft are simply designed with nothing but flight in mind, with features and design elements oriented around comfort, speed, safety, and efficiency. This one is very different. With its built-in drone jamming technology, it has the power to identify nearby drones, jam their communications, and send them spiraling down to Earth. And every drone that falls to the ground without hitting its target represents a loss for Russia and a win for Ukraine. The Shark.Aero representative went on to explain exactly how the Shark's jammers work.
So there's a jammer that serves to jam the GPS and a second jammer that is used to disrupt video transmissions and radio connections to the drones.
Both of these jammers are cleverly concealed on the underside of the aircraft's fuselage, perfectly aligned with its center of mass. In action, the Shark typically operates at altitudes of around 6,000 feet or 1,800 meters, though it can reach heights of 18,000 feet or 5,500 meters. The range of its jammers is around 2.8 miles or 4.5 kilometers. While that might not sound too large, it's a very impressive range for a drone jamming craft of this kind, and any drones that come anywhere close to the Shark are more or less doomed to lose signal and plummet to the ground. That's because most drones, like the Shahed and Orlan models Russia uses so commonly, rely on GNSS technology to lock on and navigate to their targets, along with video transmissions to transmit battlefield intelligence to their operators. As soon as those communications are blocked, the drones lose almost all of their power and potency, becoming little more than engines strapped to explosives floating through the sky without anything to guide them. It's worth noting that some drones, like Shaheds, have inertial navigation systems which are designed to kick in if the GNSS signal gets jammed or disrupted somehow. But these systems aren't perfect, nor are they designed to cope with sustained jamming. They're simply a backup navigation method that might help a drone stay on course if its GNSS is jammed for a few minutes. But the Shark can theoretically continue jamming the signal much longer than that, and the longer the drone operates without signal, the less likely it is to ever reach its target. Add on the fact that the Shark has an almost 1,250 mile, 2,000 kilometer range, combined with the ability to fly for up to 12 hours on a single tank of gas, and it's clear to see how effective this aircraft could be. It could loiter over key areas like cities for hours at a time, taking out drone after drone and saving life after life in the process. It's also equipped with a parachute safety system for emergency situations and an onboard oxygen system to help pilots breathe at high altitudes. Plus, as stated earlier, it can reach top speeds of around 190 miles per hour, 300 kilometers per hour, allowing it to rapidly redeploy to other areas as required or quickly flee a zone if it's at risk of being targeted by Russian forces. With technical specifications out of the way, it's now worth taking a look at why the Shark could prove invaluable to Ukraine when it comes to defending its cities. First, it's important to understand the context of what Ukraine is currently dealing with. The country's people face near constant Russian drone strikes, and those attacks aren't just limited to the front lines and contested territories close to the border. Indeed, Russia regularly sends drones deep into Ukrainian territory, striking at various towns and cities, including the capital Kyiv. The strikes have increased in frequency year after year since the war began, going from a monthly average of 959 in 2024 to more than 3,450 strikes in 2025. They're so common that drones now account for around 70% of all deaths and injuries to Ukrainian military personnel and civilians. And even though Ukraine has numerous defense systems to battle back against these drones, including air defense systems and missiles, it needs all the extra help it can get. Because even with all those defenses, some Russian drones still regularly strike their intended targets, dealing serious damage and causing continuous injuries and loss of life. Only days ago, on the night of July 3rd and into the early hours of July 4, Russia launched one of its biggest ever drone strikes on Kyiv. It reportedly launched a record number of drones at the Ukrainian capital, with videos and images from the scene showing explosions ringing out, fires raging, and plumes of smoke filling the skies, with wreckage and debris scattered across the city streets. The attack left at least one person dead and 23 others injured, with countless civilians spending the night seeking shelter in the city's subway stations, listening to the chaos and carnage above their heads and hoping they would survive until morning. This is far from a freak occurrence. Kyiv, like all other places all over Ukraine, regularly has to suffer attacks of this kind. Some are less damaging, but others are far worse. In June, for example, a strike on Kyiv left 15 people dead and over 100 others injured, when a whole section of a residential building was destroyed. With so many strikes and such widespread devastation, Ukraine is struggling to keep up. Its air defense systems are overworked, and the recent news that the US has halted shipments of Patriots and other weapons to Kyiv has been a big blow to the country. The arrival of the Shark at least goes some way to counteracting that bad news, while providing Ukraine with an effective and efficient new option to guard against drone attacks. Now, one of the best aspects of this aircraft is how cost-effective it may prove to be for Ukraine. Imagine, for example, if it was deployed in the skies near a big city, like Kyiv. Then, the next time Russia sends a swarm of drones in that direction, the Shark could jam the communications of any that enter its radius, taking out dozens, if not hundreds of them, all in a matter of minutes. Some of these Russian drones cost in excess of $100,000 per unit. Every single one taken out represents a financial loss for Russia, but Ukraine often has to use its own costly defenses to bring them down. It might have to fire expensive missiles, for example, use million-dollar air defense systems, or activate high-end radar units. If any drones hit their targets too, that represents more time, money, manpower and resources that Ukraine has to dedicate to clearing the rubble, rescuing the injured and rebuilding damaged infrastructure. The Shark changes the game. It doesn't need to use any expensive missiles or other weaponry to take out drones. It can simply sit there, hovering in the sky, letting its jamming technology do the hard work. For every drone it disrupts, that's one more missile Ukraine gets to save, and the more work the Shark does, the more Ukraine's savings and Russia's losses mount up. That's so important right now, at a time when Russia is really ramping up the intensity of its attacks, and its president, Vladimir Putin, appears dead set on using a brute force strategy to wear Ukraine down in an attempt to win the war as soon as possible. This strategy is clearly taking a toll on Ukraine, leading to death and destruction across the nation and along the front lines. But it's also taking a toll on Russia's economy, with leading experts recently warning that the country is close to a major recession. It's even reached a point where Putin has finally caved and pledged to cut military spending in 2026. As such, if Ukraine can keep on digging in and resisting through what's left of 2025, it may find that the pressure begins to ease next year, which could open up opportunities for counterattacks and recaptures of lost land. But it has to be economic in its approach, saving money where possible, since it doesn't have the same massive military budget as Russia. The stats show that Ukraine is doing an amazing job of this so far. Just recently, at a June 21 press conference, Ukraine's Commander-in-Chief, Oleksandr Syrsky, revealed how effective the country's drone strikes on Russia have been, dealing an estimated $10 billion worth of damage between January and May of this year alone. Syrsky also explained that for every $1 Ukraine has spent on its drone strikes, it's dealt $15 of damage to Russia. Ukraine's armed forces are also striving to be just as cost-effective in their defense operations as they are in their offensive maneuvers, and the Shark can play a part in that thanks to its low operational costs. Another big benefit of this system is the effect it can have on morale and confidence for both Ukrainians and Russians. As explained earlier, Russian forces now rely very heavily on drones. They deploy massive swarms of them over the border to strike at Ukrainian targets on a regular basis. Russians have grown accustomed to the ruthless efficiency of their drone strikes, and even though some drones inevitably get brought down by Ukrainian air defenses, others find a way through and hit their marks. Thanks to this, Russia is confident that its drone attacks will continue to prove successful, playing a vital role in its ongoing efforts to wear down Ukraine's defenses bit by bit. Meanwhile, Ukrainian soldiers and civilians have grown to fear drones. They shudder at the sound of a drone's distinctive buzz overhead, knowing that their best hope is often to either run or hide and hope that the drone doesn't spot them or explode nearby. It's a constant cycle of fear and panic, but the Shark helps to disrupt that cycle. Positioned overhead, it can protect entire populations from large drone swarms, giving the Ukrainian people a little bit of much-needed hope and comfort at a time of such adversity. The Shark is also an incredibly innovative and flexible tool for Ukraine's armed forces to experiment with, opening up various new avenues of strategic defense. Now, electronic warfare aircraft and radio jammers have been seen before, of course, but the Shark still brings something new to the table with its microlight form, its real-time EW capacities, and its impressive levels of range and endurance. There's never been an anti-drone aircraft quite like this, and it could add an exceptionally valuable layer to Ukraine's existing air defense technology. In key locations, Ukraine could deploy advanced mobile fire teams to fire on drones from the ground, use Western-supplied and domestically made surface-to-air missiles to take out the more high-value targets, and then have the Shark hovering overhead just a little further back to take out any straggling drones that manage to make it through. Alternatively, it could position the Shark further forward, ready to wipe out as many drones as it possibly can, with fire teams standing by to strike on any aerial targets that somehow survive the jams. A craft like this breaks and redefines the rules of what air defense can and should look like. For a long time, there's been a huge focus on fancy fighter jets, sometimes worth hundreds of millions of dollars each, and complicated air defense systems with mobile missile platforms, radar scanners, and entire teams of operators. It's been a commonly held and agreed upon belief that these kinds of high-end technologies are the only ways to truly counterattack the increasingly prominent threats of drone and missile bombardment. The Shark disproves all that. Compared to those jets and systems, this craft is cheap, simple, even basic. Yet it's arguably just as important and effective in real-world situations when it's trying to fend off waves of unmanned aerial vehicles. It's a disruptive force in every sense of the word, and if Ukraine was able to receive or even make more aircraft like this one, it could change the very shape of this war and force Russia into a complete tactical rethink, as the Kremlin's drone-heavy strategy would no longer be even half as effective as it has been up to now. This is exactly what Ukraine needs, which is why it's been looking into new ways to counteract drones for quite some time now. As Commander-in-Chief Syrskyi notes, one of the promising directions in combating Shahed drones is the use of light aircraft. We already have such aviation assets and new projects underway thanks to financial and material assistance from our partners. These modern platforms are equipped with advanced navigation and weapon systems, which will enhance the effectiveness of counter-drone operations. Of course, despite all of its advantages, the new Shark anti-drone electronic warfare aircraft isn't perfect. There are a couple of downsides worth noting. First, only one of these microlight planes has been manufactured and delivered to Ukraine so far. While it's certainly possible that more could come in the future, no official plans have yet been announced. To deal with this, Ukraine could take inspiration from the Shark to develop similar craft of its own, or order more standard Shark models from Shark.Aero and retrofit them with the necessary jamming technology. And second, the Shark doesn't exactly have any defensive capabilities of its own to guard against the likes of fighter jet fire or missile strikes from the ground or the air. Because of that, it's not really suitable for frontline work. It's a small target and can travel at high speeds, so it may be able to evade enemy fire for some time, but will likely be taken out eventually. As such, at least in its current state, this craft will most likely be used far from the front, within Ukraine's own airspace, perhaps monitoring the skies over Kyiv or other big cities to take out any drones that come into range. With that said, the benefits of the Shark far outweigh these downsides, and it represents an excellent addition to Ukraine's anti-drone arsenal, and yet another amazing example of allies across Europe and the Western world doing what they can to innovate and support Ukraine's valiant defenders. Wherever it ends up being deployed, the Shark will inevitably help to bring down one Russian drone after another, without the need for the Ukrainian armed forces to use up their limited missile stocks or risk damage or destruction of their most valuable and powerful air defense systems. And that's good news for Ukraine and bad news for Russia. Now, discover more good news for Ukraine in our video detailing the country's growing mastery of drone warfare, or our look at the low-cost yet revolutionary acoustic weapon that Ukraine is now using to locate enemy drones, missiles and artillery with stunning precision. And finally, make sure to subscribe to our reliable news channel too for more detailed daily reports from the front lines and beyond.